How is it going, everybody? You're watching That About Tech, and today I'm gonna compare the new iPhone 16 Pro Max to the iPhone 15 Pro Max. In this comparison, I'm gonna tell you what you actually want to know. It's not gonna be super deep, super technical, no. I'm only gonna talk about what actually matters. So if you currently have an iPhone 15 Pro Max and you're thinking about getting a 16 Pro Max, this video is for you. Or maybe if you have a slightly older iPhone and you're considering one of those, this video is for you too. So let's get started. Okay, so let's start off talking about the design, because that's the first thing we always take a look at, right? The design, the visual. And I have to tell you guys, they're pretty much identical. You can definitely tell out of the box that the iPhone 16 Pro Max is slightly larger than the 15 Pro Max. And this is not an illusion or something that it looks like it. No, it's actually larger. The iPhone 16 Pro Max has a larger display, and therefore it has a larger overall size. So the display here on the 16 Pro Max is 0.2 inches larger compared to the 15 Pro Max. It's a 6.9 inch display compared to 6.7 on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And it's both due to slimmer bezels, and we're gonna talk about bezels in a second when I talk about the display, but it has to do with the actual shape and body size of the iPhone 16 Pro Max. As you can tell, it is largely taller, as you can see right here. So it is a little bit taller, and it is a little bit wider as well, even though it's really hard to see. As you can see, the camera module is exactly the same size. It's the exact same thing. Both of them are made of titanium, not the whole body. The back is glass, as you can see right here, but the sides are made of titanium, and both of them have the same titanium finish. So it's not too glossy, as you can see. It's slightly frosted, as you can see right there, and it's the exact same thing. So as you can see, we've got here same buttons, as you can see, same overall design, the antenna lines, it's all exactly the same. The top is exactly the same as well as the bottom, as you can see. So we have here same USB Type-C ports, same microphone grill, same speaker grill, same thing. The only difference that we actually have is right here on this side, which is the camera control button. As you can see, this is not a button on the 15 Pro Max. Actually, the 14 Pro Max actually has this as well, and this is a 5G antenna. So this is not a button, it's not clickable. But here on the 16 Pro Max, this is an actual button, and we're gonna talk about that in a second when I talk about my camera test, okay? But as you guys can see, that's the only difference overall in design. And of course, the new color. As you can see, the 16 Pro Max has this new desert titanium, as you can see, whereas the iPhone 15 Pro Max just has the natural titanium, white, black, and blue. Now we don't have blue anymore, we have desert titanium. So unless you get the new color, no one will actually know by taking a look at your phone that you have the new 16 Pro Max compared to the 15 Pro Max. It's the exact same thing. Now let's talk about charging, because there is a slight difference when we're talking about charging speeds on both those iPhones. So we have to talk about, of course, wired charging, so then charging like this through a cable, as you can see right here, but also we have to talk about wireless charging, as you can see right here as well. Naturally, both phones are compatible with wired and wireless charging. In this case, I'm using a MagSafe charger, as you can see right here. But the thing is, the iPhone 16 Pro Max actually has faster charging, both wired and wirelessly. We've had some rumors that the new iPhone 16 series as a whole had a maximum charging speed of 45 watts compared to 30 watts, which is the 15 Pro Max top capacity, but that's not true. The iPhone 16 series, including the 16 Pro Max, won't charge that fast. As a matter of fact, it'll charge around 38 watts or something like that. A little bit faster, but not that fast. But when we're talking about wireless charging, then it gets way faster. Pretty much double the capacity. So the iPhone 15 Pro Max topped at 15 watts of wireless charging. Now it goes all the way up to 30 watts. But please keep in mind that you only get this if you're using a T2 compatible charger. In this case, this is not compatible. Even though this is MagSafe, it's MagSafe 1, so it won't give you the 30 watts of wireless charging. It will only give you 15 watts. So you need to get a Qi2 compatible charger in order to get 30 watts in wireless charging. And how does that actually translate to the real world? As you can see on the screen, I'm showing you here a result comparing the 16 Pro Max and 15 Pro Max on two scenarios: full charging and 30 minutes charging using wireless or wired charging. As you can see, it is faster on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. We've got way less minutes when charging on the 16 Pro Max compared to the 15 Pro Max. And of course, on a 30 minutes charge, we get much more percentage. So it is faster, just not as fast as we wanted to. Now let's talk about battery itself. How's battery life in the new iPhone 16 Pro Max? So if we open up our settings and then go to battery on both, as you can see, and then go to last 8 days and last 10 days here, let's take a look at how it stacks up. So if we take a look here on last Wednesday, I've got here 100% of battery usage. So I've used 100% of my battery, and I got 8 hours and 40 minutes of screen on time. 2 days later on Friday, I got 8 hours and 19 minutes on the same 100% of battery usage. So one full battery, I'm getting here 8 hours and a half, 8 hours and 19 of screen on time. That's real life, okay? If we compare to the 15 Pro Max, we've got here, let's see, for example, on this day, on this Monday, same story, 100% of battery usage, I've got 8 hours and a half. And the next day, I got a little bit less, 7 hours 46, again, on 100% of battery usage. But please keep in mind that this iPhone is slightly older, way older actually. This is 1 year of use. Okay, I've been using this for over a year now. I got this on day 1, so last September. So my battery health here is around 90 something percent. And I'm getting here pretty much the same results, just a few minutes more on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And please keep in mind that I'm using iOS 18 on both, so it's the same operating system. So that's really, really bad. Now let's talk about display. As I mentioned, there is a difference not only on the screen size itself, but also on the bezel. So if you go ahead and open up our settings once again here, you can tell that the bezels on the iPhone 16 Pro Max are slightly thinner compared to the 15 Pro Max. So slightly thinner bezels right here compared to thicker bezels up here, but then that's it, because the dynamic island right there at the top, let me open up once again, it's the exact same size, so no difference there. Same story with the ProMotion display. Both iPhones have the same ProMotion display, 120 Hz of refresh rate, so it's the exact same thing, but we have one slight difference, which is on brightness. So the full brightness, the maximum brightness, is exactly the same on both. So peak brightness is 2000 nits on both, but the minimum brightness, if we pull all the way down, is slightly darker on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. It's gonna be very, very hard for you to tell, but it is. So on minimum brightness, the iPhone 16 Pro Max will get you a darker display. And maybe you're wondering, why would I want that? And that's interesting if you are, for example, sleeping in the middle of the night. If you are in a very dark environment, you can bring your iPhone 16 Pro Max display all the way down, minimum brightness, and then it'll be a little bit more comfortable to you. And last but not least, talking about the glass itself, the glass here on top of the display, we've got Ceramic Shield 2 on the iPhone 16 Pro Max compared to Ceramic Shield 1 on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And in theory, the Ceramic Shield 2 is 50% tougher compared to the Ceramic Shield 1. I'm not gonna compare that. I'm not gonna drop my iPhone to see if it's tougher. Now let's talk about performance. In order to do that, let's open up Geekbench, as you can see right here, and we can already tell that they are a little bit different because the processor is a little bit different. On the 15 Pro Max, we have the A17 Pro, and on the 16 Pro Max, we have the A18 Pro. And as you can see right here, they are slightly different. So the processor on the 16 Pro Max is a 4.04 gigahertz, and on the 15 Pro Max, 3.78. We've got the same RAM, so 8 gigabytes of RAM. So a little bit different, but yeah, it's pretty much the same. But let's go ahead and test it out. Let's test the CPU and run a benchmark. I'm gonna speed this up because generally it takes a little while. And so as you can see, here are the results. So single core score, it's 2,444, multi-core score 6,709 compared to the 15 Pro Max 2128, 5837. And looking at those numbers, it may seem like a big jump, like maybe 15% or something like that. But the thing is, in real life, you could definitely tell that both of them started the same task at the same time, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max took 3 to 4 seconds more to finish a bunch of heavy tests. So you're not going to be running those tests on a day-to-day life, but as you could tell, after a heavy test, the difference was 3 seconds on a minute and a half heavy task. And on my experience running those two iPhones side by side every day, day to day, that's exactly my feeling. It's unnoticeable. You can't tell the difference between those devices when we're talking about performance when you use them side by side and open apps and do your day-to-day life. As you can see, a heavy 1 minute and a half task took 3 seconds more on this iPhone. So when you're using your iPhone on your day-to-day life, opening apps and things like that, you just can't tell a difference because they just open and do the exact same thing pretty much at the same time. Now I want to talk about this, which is Apple Intelligence. As you know, both of them are compatible with Apple Intelligence. So if for some reason Apple Intelligence is a really big deal to you, keep in mind that the iPhone 15 Pro Max is also compatible and it does have the exact same features. So if it's a big deal to you, it won't make a single difference using Apple Intelligence on a 16 Pro Max or a 15 Pro Max. And last but not least, let's talk about value for money. So which one should you get? If you're thinking about upgrading, if you're coming from an iPhone 15 Pro Max, or if you're coming from an older iPhone and you're considering both those models, which one is the best? Which one will give you the best value for your money? And I believe it's pretty clear already who's the winner on this comparison. And of course, it's the 15 Pro Max, guys. Now, of course, we have to talk about the cameras. For many people, the most important part of the iPhone. Of course, I'm gonna start talking about the iPhone 16 Pro Max because it has the brand new camera control button, but then I'm gonna compare a bunch of photos that I took on my iPhone 16 Pro Max and then compare it to the 15 Pro Max using all of the cameras, all of the 3 cameras in the back, the selfie camera, during daytime, during nighttime. This is a very important test, okay? But now let's go ahead and talk about the new camera control. As you can see, it is a button here and it's actually covered by glass. So it is not like covered by metal as your other typical buttons on your iPhone. It's covered by glass, just like your home button if you remember it, right? Starting with the iPhone 5S. So it is covered by glass, as you can see right here. And it is actually a very smart button because if you actually press it with force, it will launch the camera. And if you press on it very hard once again, it'll actually take a photo, as you can see, but it's dynamic. So depending on how much force you put on it, you have multiple possibilities. So if you press slightly, just a gentle press, as you can see, it'll open up here your zoom control. So you can easily tap on it, as you can see, and then zoom in. So super easily zooming in, as you can see, great zoom. Take a look at this, incredible, right? And if you actually double press, you open up all your other camera controls. So your depth, exposure, you can choose between your cameras, as you can see right here. So your normal camera, your selfie camera, as you can see, that's me, your ultra wide, and then of course your zoom cameras as well. And double pressing on it once again, you can easily choose here your styles and your tone. And you gotta keep in mind that this is an actual button, okay? So even if your iPhone is turned off, you will be able to press on it. So it's an actual button. But of course, it's also sensitive, pressure sensitive, and capacitive. So you can actually slide, as you could see right here. So it's great and all, but in my opinion, it has an ergonomical problem. Because when you're holding in your iPhone like that, for example, take a look. When you're holding it one hand, generally that's how we hold, right? Just like that, very comfortable. look at where my thumb is resting, right here in the middle of nowhere. So it is not touching the power button and it is not touching here the camera control. It's in the middle of nowhere, as you can see right here. If I want to actually launch my camera, I would have to put my iPhone all the way up and then press on it, as you can see, and then use the camera. But as you can see, this is not very comfortable. This is a pretty large stretch. So my hand is stretching pretty much and I'm shaking a little bit. So this is not very ergonomical. And if I decide to use it like this in landscape mode, it gets even worse, because this is how we hold an iPhone, like on the corners, as you can see right here. But even if you want to stretch a little bit and hold it like that, still, we are pretty far away from the camera control. Take a look at where the camera control is. So if I'm holding my iPhone and I want to actually press the camera control to take a photo, I can't do it like that. I can't do it like that. I can't do it like that. I have to do it like that. So I pretty much have to release completely the iPhone and do this. Take a look at this. This is how I touch the camera control, the bottom of it. So then, if I actually want to control anything, take a look at my hand placement. So this hand is great, it's comfortable, it's great. This one, I'm not holding the iPhone at all. I'm gonna have to do this, and then I can actually adjust, and then I can actually take a photo. But I'm not holding my iPhone, because if I want to hold it, I would have to do this. And then this is not comfortable. I have to tell you, this is not comfortable at all. Maybe my hands are not super large, but they're average, I'd say. So then I think it's an ergonomical problem, and I think this is not a good button placement here on the iPhone, if you ask me. Now, this is the camera control button, and I have to tell you that I don't use it. I've been using the new iPhone 16 Pro Max for a few days now, and I never use it. I always launch my camera like that, switch between my modes like that, switch between my cameras like that, and take my photos like that. No, I don't use the camera control. I've never used it apart from day one when I started to test it and realized it's not well placed. Now let's compare the cameras themselves. Let's compare photos I took on the iPhone 16 Pro Max and on the 15 Pro Max, and let's see how they actually stack up. As you can see, I've got a few photos right here. I decided to test all of the iPhone cameras. So the wide, the ultra wide, the zoom, and the selfie in all scenarios possible. So during the day first, at night later, and then I even decided to take a photo in a very low light scenario with the ultra wide just to test if that camera got a little bit better. And as you can see by the results, it doesn't. As you can see, it's pretty much the same thing. We're getting pretty much the same result on all scenarios. Daytime, nighttime, on all cameras. Maybe just the selfie camera is a little bit better on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, but that's pretty much it. All other tests that I took, if you take a look at them blindly, you won't be able to tell which one is the 16 Pro Max, which one is the 15 Pro Max, because there is no clear winner. So the cameras are pretty much the same. And so we get to the conclusion of this video. We get to the part where I tell you where you're gonna get the most value for your money. So if you already own an iPhone 15 Pro Max and are thinking about upgrading to the 16 Pro Max, or if you have an older iPhone model and are deciding between those two devices. And I believe it's pretty clear by now that they are very similar when you're talking about battery, performance, camera, display, design, features. It's pretty much the same phone, guys. The only difference you actually have is the new camera control button, which most people aren't using, including myself. So then, when you're talking about value for money, there is a clear winner, which is the 15 Pro Max, especially because right now, ever since the release of the iPhone 16 Pro Max, we're getting great deals on the 15 Pro Max. So if you manage to get a $200, $300 discount on this guy compared to this one, definitely go ahead and buy the 15 Pro Max. You will get a 16 Pro Max for $1,200, so $1,199, right? So if you manage to get this guy for like $800, $900, that's a great deal, because you're gonna save money that you can actually spend on new AirPods, for example, or save a little bit more and get new Apple Watch. and then you're gonna get pretty much the same iPhone, the same guy, as you can see, and save some cash. There's only one scenario where I recommend you to go ahead and get the 16 Pro Max, and that's if you wait. If you go ahead and wait at least until February 2025, because then this guy is gonna start to get awesome discounts. Carriers will start to give awesome discounts on the iPhone 16 Pro Max because it's not gonna be brand new anymore. So then you can consider getting it if you can wait, all right? And if you actually manage to get on a very similar price point compared to the 15 Pro Max. If you get $200, $300 discount on the 15 Pro Max, always get the 15 Pro Max. It's just always worth it because, as you can see, they're pretty much the same guy. And of course, if you already own an iPhone 15 Pro Max, there's just no point upgrading to the 16 Pro Max for the same reasons. You're gonna spend money and have pretty much the same experience. You're gonna be disappointed. So stick to the 15 Pro Max and wait for the 17 series next year, all right? So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next videos, guys. Bye-bye.